A very good evening to one and all. I welcome you all to this news analysis initiative. These are the articles that are important from today's newspaper. Without any further delay, we will move on to the first one. See, regarding the first article, 97 lakh electors deleted in Tamil Nadu, 74 lakh in Gujarat. See, here you have to just take the data point, nothing much in this article. See, regarding the next example, which you can use it in your mains answer writing, is air purifiers to be installed in 10,000 classrooms. Okay, so that you can take it as an example. The other one is the 11,776 challans issued in city over 24 hours. So that is also another one. Because the Delhi government has come up with an order to deny fuel to vehicles without this valid pollution under control certificates. So if you don't have that certificate, you will not be provided with the fuel. So you can use these two data points for environment related questions in mains answer writing. The next article for the day, Delhi POCSO courts registers highest ever clearance rate amid push to clear backlog. So here you have to know that a recent report titled Pendency to Protection, Achieving the Tipping Point to Justice for Child Victims of Sexual Abuse, which is released by India Child Protection. Okay, and they showed that Delhi disposed of 1792 POCSO cases in 2025 and only 1006 new cases were filed during the same year. So there is a clearance rate of 178%, and Delhi has also emerged among the top 3 states along with Odisha in terms of disposal performance. Now, if you take the national average disposal rate, it is around 109%. Across India, 80,320 cases were filed, whereas 87,754 cases were disposed. However, there were certain concerns that were highlighted by the report. They are, in Delhi alone, 2,075 pending POCSO cases are 6 to 10 years old, and nearly half of pending cases nationwide have remained unresolved for over 2 years. So the report notes that delays begin early in the life cycle of the cases, pointing to systemic bottlenecks. And all these data is based from National Judicial Data Grid, National Crime Records Bureau, and information tabled in the Parliament. The next article for the day, InSpace invites proposals to establish space labs across academic institutions. So the space lab's name is called as Antariksh Prayogshala, and they are going to set up in certain academic institutions across India. The major aim is to establish a space technology ecosystem and build future ready talent. As you know, InSpace is an autonomous agency in the Department of Space, and these labs will provide hands-on training and exposure to students. And for establishing this space labs, InSpace will provide around 75% of the total project cost, and it is capped at around 5 crore per institution. So the next article for the day, the significance of a strong defense industrial base. See, India's goal of becoming a developed nation by 2047 depends not only on economic growth and social development, but also on strong strategic and security capabilities. So, a robust defense industrial base is central to this ambition. Why India's defense industrial base matters? See, ironically, while Indian private companies were kept out, India freely imported defense equipment from foreign private manufacturers. So, this created strategic vulnerability, loss of domestic manufacturing capacity, and missed economic opportunities. So, what is the recent shift and progress? In recent years, there has been a major policy shift leading to rapid improvement. Private sector entry into defense manufacturing, liberalized FDI norms, corporatization of the Ordnance Factory Board, expansion of Make in India defense procurement, and promotion of startups and innovation. So, what are the outcomes then? The defense production has increased. Defense exports now reach 80 plus countries, and India is becoming part of global defense supply chains. So this shows the emergence of the maturing defense ecosystem. When you look into the strategic and global context, there is a change in global security environment, and that has reinforced the importance of self-reliance. For example, the ongoing conflicts in Europe, West Asia and Asia, disruption of global supply chains, and rising defense expenditure worldwide. So this shows that countries with strong domestic defense industries have shown greater resilience. For India, if you take, there is a persistent border and maritime challenges that make India's self-reliance indispensable. And Europe's increased defense spending and shortage of suppliers create export opportunities. And India's Indian Ocean location and growing diplomatic influence strengthen its role as a reliable defense supplier. However, there are challenges. See, like complex regulations that discourage MSMEs and startups, delays in export licensing, joint venture approvals, technology transfer permissions, and lack of long-term demand visibility, which reduces the investor confidence. We have a goal of rupees 50,000 crore in defense exports by 2029. So that requires that we have to overcome all these bottlenecks. Now, if you look into the role of the DRDO, it has played a crucial role in building strategic capabilities. However, going forward, DRDO should focus on frontier and advanced research like AI, cyber, drones, okay? And production scaling and commercialization should shift to industries. So this division follows global best practices and this will improve efficiency too. So what are the key reforms that are needed? The first is simplify the procedures like faster approvals for exports, joint ventures and technology transfer. Number two, create export facilitation mechanisms, dedicated professional single window export agency. Number three, improve financial support, specialized defense export financing. Number four, upgrade testing and certification, integrated testing facilities and adoption of international certification standards. Number five, use strategic tools, government to government deals, lines of credit, and long term maintenance and service commitments. Because defense exports are not just about revenue, they indicate technological maturity, strategic reliability, and geopolitical influence. And a strong defense industrial base reduces import dependence, creates high skilled jobs, and strengthens India's position in the global security order. See, the next article for the day is the central government has decided to greatly increase job reservation for former Agniveers in the Central Armed Police Forces. Earlier, only 10% of posts were reserved for ex-Agniveers. Now, this has been increased to 50% for certain posts. So, first we need to know who are Agniveers. They are soldiers recruited under the Agnipath scheme 2022. They serve in the armed forces for 4 years. After retirement, most do not get permanent military jobs. So, what are the benefits of ex-Agniveers? 50% reservation in the CAPF constable post. Earlier it was 10%, and now there are exemption from physical test as well. And there is a age relaxation for the first batch up to 5 years and later batches up to 3 years. So they must still clear the written exams like other candidates. See, why is this important? Because the Agnipath scheme faced huge protest in 2022, mainly because of job insecurity after 4 years. Unemployment after service became a major political issue. So increasing in reservation is seen as a way to address youth concerns, provide a stable career path and reduce opposition to the Agnipath scheme. See, the next article for the day is Center to set up a dedicated body to protect ports ships. The government is creating a new specialized body called the Bureau of Port Security to protect India's ports and ships. And here's what this means. Okay. Now, why it is being created? India's ports handle huge volumes of trade and are critical for national security. With rising risks like terrorism, smuggling, cyber attacks and global security threats, the government felt the need for a dedicated authority focused only on port and ship security. So what will this Bureau of Port Security do? They will oversee security of ports, ships and vessels across the country, collect, analyze and share security related intelligence, pay special attention to cyber security, protecting port IT systems, from hacking and digital threats. They also ensure security measures are applied based on risk levels, not a one-size-fits-all approach. And this Bureau of Port Security is being set up on the lines of the Bureau of Civil Aviation Security, which handles the airport security. Okay, now it will be a statutory body under the Merchant Shipping Act 2025, giving it strong legal authority. See, earlier the Central Industrial Security Force handled many port security tasks. Now, Bureau of Port Security will act as the central regulator and overseer, while operational forces like CISF may continue field duties. The next article for the day is the central government is creating a national online portal to manage everything related to forest rights under the Forest Rights Act 2006. So the government wants to bring the entire forest rights process online. Okay. Now they are creating a single portal and the portal name is known as Tarang. What will this portal do? This single portal will allow forest dwellers to apply for forest rights online. They track claims from the Gram Sabha level to the state level and issue the digital title deeds, that is the ownership or the usage rights. They store old records of forest rights that are already given. Okay, and they create a Forest Rights Act Atlas, which is a digital map showing forest areas where rights exist or can be claimed in the future. So instead of paperwork moving slowly between officers, everything will be available digitally in one place. Now, why is this being done? The Forest Rights Act recognizes the traditional rights of Adivasis and forest dwellers over forest land, such as living in forest areas, using forest produce, and community forest rights. But implementation has been slow and uneven across states. So, the new portal is meant to make the process faster, transparent, and uniform. They also reduce delays and disputes. It will help the government identify beneficiaries for welfare schemes like FRA records. See, the next article for the day is winter session concludes with over 100% productivity. Actually, there were 15 sittings with 111% productivity. Okay, so that is quoted. You have to remember it. Then there were many key bills that have been placed in front of the parliament, like the one to replace the MNREGA scheme, the other one opening up of the civil nuclear sector for private sector, and 100% FDI in insurance. All these were tabled. See, in this next article, child trafficking, a deeply disturbing reality, says Supreme Court. The key points that you have to remember is the trafficking networks are organized and layered, involving recruitment, transport, sheltering, and exploitation. This is also an internal security issue which you should be knowing. The next one is the trafficked child's testimony should be trusted even if there are minor inconsistency. That is the second point. The other important point is child trafficking violates human dignity and bodily integrity, and the state has a constitutional duty to protect children. Okay, these are the points that you can take from this article. Okay, the next article is the second WHO Global Summit on Traditional Medicine has just concluded. Okay, India hosted this summit, and one major highlight is that the WHO Global Center for Traditional Medicine has been set up in Jamnagar. This makes India a global hub for traditional medicine. A key message from the summit was the combination of tradition as well as the technology, like digital health tools, artificial intelligence, modern research methods, and wellness infrastructure. And when traditional knowledge works together with modern technology, global healthcare becomes more effective and accessible. And the summit also focused on the global cooperation. Two important collaborations were highlighted. The first one is the Center of Excellence for BIMSTEC countries covering South and Southeast Asia. The other one is a partnership with Japan to integrate science, traditional practices, and modern healthcare. Okay, the next article for the day, corporates have fundamental duty to protect the ecosystem, says the Supreme Court. So the Supreme Court has given a very important message to companies in India. It clearly said that corporate social responsibility is not just about charity or welfare work. It must also include protecting the environment. Okay, they say that Companies are not only responsible to their shareholders but are also responsible to nature, wildlife, and the ecosystem in which they operate. So you can use this in your ethics related questions also. And the court also applied the polluter pays principle, which means if corporate activities damage the environment or threaten endangered species, the company must pay for conservation and restoration. And importantly, the court said that spending CSR money on environmental protection is not optional charity but a constitutional duty under Article 51A G, which talks about protecting nature and wildlife. This judgment came while hearing cases related to the great Indian bustard, a critically endangered bird found mainly in Rajasthan and Gujarat. The court noted that activities like mining, power generation, and large infrastructure projects are harming its habitat. Okay, the next article is Center revises guidelines to help poor prisoners unable to pay fines. The government has updated the rules of a scheme meant to help poor prisoners who are stuck in jail only because they cannot pay fines or arrange bail money. This scheme is called Support to Poor Prisoners and it was started in 2023. But many states were not implementing it properly. Because of this weak response, the Home Ministry has now tightened the guidelines. Many prisoners have already completed their sentence or are eligible for bail, but they remain in jail only because they are poor and cannot pay the fine ordered by the court or produce a surety. This causes unnecessary suffering and also leads to overcrowding in prison. Now, what changes has the government made? Now, clear timelines and responsibilities have been fixed. If a convicted prisoner cannot get released due to non-payment of fine, the jail superintendent must inform the District Legal Services Authority within 1 week. The DLSA will check whether the prisoner is genuinely poor. If yes, the case will be placed before a district level empowered committee, which now must include a nominee of the district collector, a judge connected to the prison nominated by the district judge. This committee can approve financial help of up to Rs 25,000, which will be deposited in court to enable the prisoner's release. Now, the same process also applies to eligible under trial prisoners. Now, who will not get this benefit, which is very important? The scheme does not apply to prisoners accused or convicted under serious laws like corruption, money laundering, terrorism, drug trafficking, human trafficking, rape, dowry deaths, crimes against children under POCSO. So, it is strictly meant for poor prisoners involved in non-heinous offences. So, why is this important? Because this step helps protect the rights of poor prisoners, prevent people from being jailed just because of poverty, reduce overcrowding in prisons, and makes the justice system more humane and fair. See, the next article is Too Low and Inflation, a Cause for Concern. See, recently the RBI reduced the repo rate by 0.25% to support economic growth. Normally, rate cuts happen when inflation is high or growth is weak. But this time something unusual is happening because inflation has fallen too sharply. According to RBI's Monetary Policy Committee members, inflation is now extremely low, much lower than what is considered healthy for a developing country like India. In October 2025, inflation fell to just 0.3%, mainly because food prices dropped sharply. For the last 9 months, inflation has stayed below the RBI's target of 4%, averaging only 2.3%, and it is expected to remain low for many more months. So now why is this a problem? See, very low inflation sounds good, but it actually signals weak demand in the economy. When people are not spending enough, businesses cannot raise prices, profits fall, and investment slows down. Too low inflation is unhealthy because it shows a demand deficit. People are buying less. Okay, the next article for the day is regarding China. Okay, China has gone to the World Trade Organization against India. China says that India is charging higher tariffs on information and communication technology products like electronics and also giving subsidies in the solar sector in a way that violates global trade rules. According to China, these policies give unfair benefits to Indian companies and hurt Chinese exporters. China argues that India is breaking WTO rules such as national treatment, which means foreign and domestic products should be treated equally. China has asked for a formal consultations, which is the first step in a WTO dispute process. If talks fail, the issue can move to a dispute settlement panel. This is the second time this year that China has filed a WTO case against India. So this shows a rising trade friction between the two countries. The next article for the day, RBI board approves risk-based deposit insurance for banks. First we should know what is this risk-based deposit insurance. See, deposit insurance means your bank deposits are protected up to a certain amount. Currently, it is rupees 5 lakh per depositor per bank in India, even if a bank fails. So, the banks pay a premium to the deposit insurance system for this protection. So, what was happening earlier means all banks were paying the same insurance premium no matter how safe or risky they were. So, a well-managed, financially strong bank paid the same rate. A weak or risky bank also paid the same rate. To explain it in a simple manner, take a careful driver and a rash driver. Both are paying the same car insurance premium. It is unfair, right? And it also discouraged good behavior. So what has changed now is the RBI has approved a risk-based deposit insurance system. Now, safer banks pay lower premium and riskier banks pay higher premium. This means banks are rewarded for being financially disciplined and risky banks are penalized, pushing them to improve. So why this is important? Because this encourages safer banking. Now banks will try to reduce risk to save money on premiums. And this is also a fair system because good banks are no longer punished for others' mistakes. And there is also better protection for depositors. A healthier banking system means your money is safer. Okay, the last article for the day is Pakistan is accusing India of weaponizing water, basically using water as a pressure tool. Okay, now Pakistan says that India released water suddenly from dams on the Chenab River without giving advance warning. Also, Pakistan says this violates the Indus Waters Treaty, which is a water sharing agreement between the two countries. Now, what is the Indus Water Treaty? It is signed in 1960, brokered by the World Bank, and it divides the river control between India and Pakistan. Under the treaty, India controls the eastern rivers, Ravi, Satluj and Beas, and Pakistan controls the western rivers, Indus, Jhelum and Chenab. And India is allowed to use the western rivers which is allotted for the Pakistan only in limited ways like run of the river projects, and it must also inform Pakistan in advance about major releases. See, from prelims, this Indus water is very important because you should be knowing about the tributaries and also the rivers that are controlled by the Pakistan and India. You should be knowing that, and any other important dams that are present in the rivers. So that's all for today. Thank you all for joining.